Jeff Koinange live from the terrace restaurant of the Intercontinental Hotel, coming in from the very unseasonal storms outside. But maybe it's a good thing it's raining. Maybe we can get some people to grow some food. That's the whole bottom line. And when someone like Giuliani is doing the kinds of things he's doing, gives me, gives us, gives this country a lot of hope, especially for the youth. My handle at Koinange Jeff. Giuliani's is at Giuliani Kenya. And my next guest, who is Mr. Food Expert. You talk to anybody, anywhere, they'll tell you Dr. James Nyoro, the former MD of the Rockefeller Foundation, he knows a thing or two about food security. And he may have some solutions, some plans. He's got a fancy title right now at the presidency. I can't even pronounce it because I've forgotten it. He'll tell us what it is. In the meantime, Dr. welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jeff.
What is your new title? Tell me.
Well, I told you. You can't remember?
Hey, it's too long.
Just probably because we are inside?
Yeah.
Well, Senior Food Security, Water and Climate Change Advisor
to the
presidency.
Congratulations.
Based at the office of the Deputy President.
Oh, fantastic.
Just across here.
Yeah, across the road.
Yeah.
So, Dr. what Giuliani was saying a few moments ago, your thoughts? I mean, young people like that, taking that initiative.
Oh, Giuliani is doing a fantastic job, Jeff. You know, I met Giuliani a couple of years back when I was working for the Rockefeller Foundation. And we were working on an initiative to create jobs for people living in Madare. And Giuliani actually working with Bob Corimo, was working with us. And that initiative today is employing about 250 people doing business process outsourcing. So this is not the first as far as Giuliani is concerned.
Yeah.
This is a continuation. And what is exciting is that, as you're aware, the average age of a farmer is 70 years. 70.
70 years old.
Yes, you retire from your job to go and do farming. We need guys like Giuliani, 29, to come into farming if we are going to revolutionize, if we are going to have a game changer, which is what we are trying to do as Jubilee government. So congratulations to him. We are going to make use of him. In the Deputy President's office, we have an office that is dealing with farming at school. You know, with the, working with the young people, and we will definitely, link up with him to push that agenda for Kenya and for Africa.
Dr. I got to go to this point right now, and I must state now that I actually did invite the governor of Turkana, Josephat Nanok, to the bench today to explain to us a little bit. He said he was a little busy this week and next week, so he couldn't come. So let me ask you this, Dr. Why? I mean, a couple of years ago, we had that Kenyans for Kenyans campaign, Kenyans for Kenya, and we raised like $1 billion shillings. And we all, we said, never again will we have another drought. Never again we will see starving pictures. Look what we're seeing now. Look, I mean, come on. In this day and age, well, what's going on?
Well, Jeff, it's really unfortunate. Because if you look at Kenya, and basically look at the position of Kenya in terms of business within the region, we are the biggest business partner within COMESA. If you look at technological advancement, in terms of M-Pesa, the world is coming to learn about technology, money transfer in Kenya. If you look at flour exports, we are the greatest flour exporter to the Netherlands. What is ironical really is food is so easy to produce and distribute, because all you need to do is to plant it and wait for the rains, and then you harvest it. What has happened, and if you go back to the initiative, Kenyans for Kenya, it was really driven by the private sector. And the government came in, but very, very quickly forgot. And Kenyans are very, very, very quick at forgetting whatever initiative that they do.
Yeah.
So it was not grounded on fundamentals. It was a reaction. It's good that there were a few greenhouses, and Kenya Red Cross did a fantastic job. Saikuru here was a typical example where today they are irrigating maize. So, but that was a very isolated success.
Yeah.
What you do in most of this is that if the success cannot be replicated by policy, if it cannot be replicated by putting in money, you are talking about how much money is the government putting in agriculture, coming up with great policies that will support the private sector, but not private sector coming in to tell government what we need to do. That is why you see the situation as you are seeing it in Turkana.
Yeah.
But you have to remember, Jeff, and figures speak for themselves. This country, a quarter of the population is chronically food insecure. We are 40 million. 10 million people will sleep having eaten less than they are supposed to eat. That is what you mean by food insecurity. Between 1 and 4 million people, the people you are seeing in Turkana and in other parts of the country, because you're seeing Turkana, there are other parts of the country that are suffering. Baringo, you saw the other day. Yeah. Between 1 and 4 million people, those are on permanent food emergency. Year in, year out, World Food Program, the government, the NGOs, and the private sector like this initiative, they are running on food.
Is it lack of planning, lack of leadership? What is it that a country like this cannot feed its own?
Jeff, what you need to do is to look back. Two things happened in this country. From the 80s, before 80s, we used to produce enough. You can remember there was a time when we exported maize to Zambia. It was a scandal anyway,
yes,
but we exported anyway. So before 80s, we were producing more than we consumed. From about 80s, our population was growing at 3.5% per annum.
One of the highest in the world.
One of the highest in the world, if you can remember.
Yep.
Now, the population was growing. The production was not increasing. If anything, we started actually divesting out of agriculture. You remember all the structural adjustment programs and all that. So our population has continued to grow. We got to 35, now we are 43, but our food production was decreasing. So this gap, and we talked about it, I remember starting to talk about it about 15 years ago, that this gap is increasing. Today we have a gap of between 10 and 15 million bags. We are being fed by Tanzania, we are being fed by Uganda, sometimes by Malawi, by all those countries, okay? So that is the first thing that started. The gap started to increase too. We had a policy that was actually favoring so-called high potential areas. So if you go back to some of the policies, agricultural policies, they will refer to high potential and low potential. The question was, high potential to what? So we neglected areas such as Turkana, Garissa, Moyale, Madera, Kajiado, and all those areas.
Neglected why?
Well, we neglected because we concentrated on what we call high potential to produce coffee, tea, which is good, but we are exporting. Remember, we were the best coffee producers in the world. So we were doing that at the expense of investing in these areas. Yeah. As if that is not enough, climate change caught up with us. From 1 to 13 years when we used to have drought, if you can remember, the oldest drought that old people will remember is Ngaraguya Mianga. That was the oldest.
Yes.
Okay, people are eating cassavas.
Correct.
Now today, 1 in 4 or 5 years is going to be a drought year. So if 2009 was a drought year, count 4 years. If 2014 or 2015, if 2014 is not a drought year, 2015 or 2016. So climate change caught up with us in a situation where there was an increasing gap between the supply and the demand.
Okay, then let me ask you this. Obviously, poor planning, 10 million bags short. Can we turn that around?
Oh, yeah. First of all, remember, I was always on the other side, if you, as it were, in the opposition.
Yes.
I was always talking about what the government should do. Now I'm in.
Now you're inside.
I'm inside. And I'm inside because I believe that what we have is going to be a game changer for this country. First, let me tell you, to bridge a gap of 10 million bags that is growing by 1 million bags every year, because our population growth rate is 2.5 and we are 40 million, so we are growing by 1 million every year. To bridge that gap, it will require thinking outside the box. And this is what the government has done. We have the large-scale irrigation project called Garana Kuraru Irrigation Food Security Project. The objective in the short to medium term is to put in 1 million acres at irrigation. Million acres. The government owns 1.5 million acres in Garana, cutting between Tana River and Kilifi counties. This year, we are opening up, the Ministry of Agriculture is opening up by putting 10,000 acres. Move on, 100,000 acres, probably within the next 2-3 years because of the infrastructure investment. What are we saying? Within a short time, we should be able to bridge the 10 million bags. Because if you do 100,000 acres at 100 bags per acre, because there are 2 seasons, so you can do 50 bags per acre, and it is irrigated. Because Israel, the country you are quoting, they are getting 60 bags. So we do 100 bags per acre for 100,000 acres, then you can do the 10 million So very quickly, you bridge that gap. Now, Juliani said something that is very, very critical. Small-scale farmers. Yeah. That is our focus.
That's the backbone.
For the first time over a couple of years, fertilizer is available with the farmers in January. Last year, when we were doing elections, fertilizer was not available until about April. So fertilizer, 140,000 tons, is available with farmers. And you know, this, we have to see these small efforts. That is the effort of the Minister of Agriculture through the Cabinet Secretary. He's doing a fantastic job. He went out, the fertilizer bulk procurement, the fertilizer is available, the private sector is bridging the balance. The seed is available. What we are addressing is the quality of seed. Because unless we get good quality seed to the small scale farmers, unless we get the fertilizer on time and affordable price, we are not going to change this situation. We will always be begging all over the world. So we also anticipate that from small-scale production, we are going to change from the 35 million bags probably to 45 million bags.
And does that include farmers in Turkana? Does that include changing that mindset?
Turkana, the plan is this. Okay, luckily enough, this has been the 2 years of Turkana. We got oil, and on top of that, we got water. I know it's so interesting. Oil and water do not mix. But in Turkana, oil and water is mixing. Now, right now, the tests are being carried on because we know we have sufficient underground water. If you look at the government programs and what we are now looking at this particular time, there is potential to do 75,000 acres on Kerio River, the one that goes through Takwel. But nothing was done. You know, the previous governments, nothing was done. If you look at Garissa, where Juliani was talking about, there is potential to do 65,000 acres of farming. So, yes, Turkana is in the pipeline. Turkana actually, through LAPSET, but earlier than that, as we do the oil, we'll be producing food, not for Turkana, but for the rest of this country.
Yeah, Dr. Ari, I want to talk more about that after the break, and also read some of the tweets, because people are really into this subject. You know, it's not just politics or ICC.
Yes.
It's something that's dear to our hearts and our stomachs. And there's a question I want you to think about in the break is, you see this leased land you're talking about, this land where we're going to irrigate?
Yes.
There's talk, and there's been talk, that we're leasing some of that land out to the Chinese, to the Middle Easterns, and they're growing food to export to their countries. That's wrong. As we starve. That's wrong.
I'll answer you.
Thank you very much. Oh my, what an interesting discussion, folks, with Dr. James Nyoro. He's Senior Advisor, Food, Water, blah, 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 in the presidency.
Climate change.
Yeah, that too. Long title. But this man knows a thing or two about food security, and we're looking for answers. We ask the questions, we're looking for answers, because when we see another starving child, it breaks my heart, no doubt. Breaks yours too, I'm sure. Keep tweeting at Koinange Jeff, at Nyoro GV, at Juliani Kenya. The Bench, as in JKL, live from the Terrace Restaurant of the Intercontinental, is back in a moment. Jeff Koinange live from the Terrace Restaurant, in case you're wondering. And yes, we are still at the Intercontinental, trying to avoid the rain outside, folks. That's how we do. And yes, talking serious topics. When it comes to food insecurity, you know we need to talk about it. When you see starving children and mothers and grandmothers in Turkana, that's a travesty. That's a shame for a country that is set for Vision 2030. That's why we have Dr. James Nyoro, Senior Advisor in the Presidency on all matters agriculture, water, food, climate change, you name it. He's the man. And your tweets are coming in thick and fast, which is good to see. Dr. Let me read a couple here. Moses Koech says, tell Dr. Nyoro that emancipating the brains of our farmers is critical. I have seen poor farmers who own 100 acres. Okay, another tweet. Moses Ndisho says, 50 bags an acre, 1 million acres under full-time irrigation, that is pure jokes, because all the rivers will dry out. One more tweet. Kahoto, he says, or Kahoto, He's one of the best brains in Kenya, Dr. James Nyoro. What a healthy debate. So, Dr. Ari, is that possible for something 50 bags per acre? Is that possible?
Okay, let's unpack it. Israel. We talked about Israel. The reason why I'm combining food security advice and water is because we have to look at the efficiency of water use. Now, it has been raining for the last couple of days. How much of that water have we harvested? So the objective really is to look at the river that goes down and becomes Garana before it becomes Sabaki to join the Indian Ocean, and put up dams upstream so that in rains like this, those dams are full. Then you are using the most efficient water delivery mechanism, the drip irrigation that Juliani was talking about, that Amiran has been practicing. Actually, I must tell you that the consultants who are doing this for the Ministry of Agriculture are actually Israelis. It's an Israeli farm. So it's not a joke. We are working out the total water requirement per acre, and we know how many acres we are going to put, and therefore we know the amount of water that will require, but it will require to be harvested and stored. So what we need to do, Jeff, is to have a mind shift, a paradigm shift. Because if you do the same thing the same way, why would you expect different results?
It's called insanity.
Exactly, it's insanity. Yeah. So this country has always done things the same way. The reason why this is a game changer is, as I said, 100,000 acres over the next 1 or 1.5 years. If you bridge the gap, and then the small-scale farmers improve their production, why it is a game changer is that that farmer who owns 10 acres, 100 acres, will stop doing maize. Today, if you are in Cherangani, or in Soy, or in Twele, you do 1 acre of maize the whole year, you get 30 bucks if you're lucky, or 20 bucks. The amount of money you are making cannot even bridge your food security problems, leave about school fees. What we are thinking is that once you take care of your food security concerns in this particular place, then we'll start moving our farmers away from maize. Jeff, there's no reason why farmers in Kericho and Bomet should be doing maize today. They should be doing dairy, so that we increase milk production for our own consumption and export. They should be doing crops like horticulture. They should be doing silk, whose demand is going up. So these high value products, strawberries. So that's what we want to move our farmers into. So it's not hypothetical. As we talk about moving to Rwanzoia, for instance, the whole of Busia, Siaya, we can put 30,000 acres on high value. So Kisumu no longer will be requiring tomatoes and onions from Narok or from Karatina. They should be coming from Gem or from Bondo. That is the thinking. But it must be a mind shift.
Yeah.
From because again, even Turkana, let's look at Turkana. It doesn't matter how much maize you produce in Turkana. The Turkana person, and Governor Nanok will tell you, cannot afford to buy that food from the market. They still can't. So we have to start thinking about cash transfers, the kind that His Excellency the President launched the other day in Muranga, where, because those people, and they are sitting on oil, and they are sitting on all these other resources, will need to be given some cash so that they can buy. So that this big project that we're talking about is a game changer. It's the only first step in a long chain of things that are going to translate this country into a middle-income country.
Let me ask you the question I'd asked you before the break, Dr. Ari, and that is, when you hear countries, companies, leasing lots of land in Kenya, and we've heard that story, it's all over the news. You know, Chinese are leasing X amount of acres. The Middle Easterns or Kuwaitis, whoever, they're leasing X amount of acres to grow food to export to their countries. That's wrong.
Forget it. When I was working at the Rockefeller Foundation, I was one of those people who are very, very outspoken with the now current Minister for Agriculture in Nigeria, Akina Desina. Yes, we are very outspoken about what is called land grab in Africa, which is exactly what you're talking about. Qatar, for instance, came and they wanted some land in Tana Delta to produce for their export. Now remember, what we are talking about, the 1 million acre, which is going to be spread over a period of time, 500,000 is going to be at maize. So the government will provide the necessary infrastructure, which is the dams that we've talked about, the canals, the pipes. Now you invite the private sector, both outside and inside, our local private sector, the outside private sector entrepreneurs to come in, and then they are registered and they produce what we are telling them to produce. So they produce maize, 200,000 on sugarcane, so that you bridge the gap between the production and the consumption of sugarcane.
Will they produce for us?
They are producing for us. They are producing for us. It is until we have enough, including horticulture, including dairy. We want actually to have a plant there and in other ADC farms where we are rearing the heifers, the high potential producing heifers, to be released to our farmers. They are doing for us. We are not doing it for other countries. We are doing it for Kenya.
So that story, we hear the Chinese and the rest of them leasing land to export to China.
It's not. I wouldn't be here if that is going to be the story.
Good man. Robert Nyakundi says, Uganda has a higher population growth rate than us. They are food secure. How and why not us?
Oh, great. Okay. One other thing that happened in Kenya is that we became too maize dependent. Food security or insecurity in Kenya means maize security or insecurity. If you look at Uganda, they are dependent on matoke. They are picking up on maize consumption. They eat yams. So their diet is more diversified than us. When there was war in Uganda, they never imported food because bananas will grow whether you are fighting or not.
Yeah.
Maize will not grow if you are fighting. South Sudan, nobody is planting now. Okay? Now what we are thinking is again to do a game changer in terms of diversifying the eating habits for Kenyans. Look at potatoes. Potatoes currently, our potato yields is about 5 tons to a hectare. 5 tons. If you translate that, it's just about 2 tons per acre. It's for about 4 pickups. It's not much.
That's it.
In Netherlands, they are getting 40, 45 tons to an acre. The difference, 10 times. The difference, right varieties, right fertilizer, plant, at the right time. Then, once you produce the whole of that, you process it. We are the only country that you peel potato now, and in 20 minutes it will be chips and it will be in your stomach. The rest of the world, they process, they store, and you can eat it over the next 6 months in flour form. So we are trying as much as possible to diversify our eating habits so that we are less dependent on maize. But that will take time.
Yeah. People have been asking this question, and I have to ask before we go. We don't have too much time. Let me ask you this. Quail farming. People were diversifying into quail farming, and now it looks like they've gone bust. What happened?
We are quail secure.
Quail secure.
I think for me there are 2 reasons as far as quail farming is concerned. The first one is that if you provide the right incentives, whether hypothetical or not, farmers or investors will respond. The incentives on quail farming was that you can make a kill, that you can sell an egg for 80 shillings. And everybody responded, particularly the middle income, you and I and others, they responded. That to me is the reason, that even in this food security issue, if we get it right, if we get our policies right, that the investors, they are not going to come from outside, you and I, people who are outside will respond. The second negative aspect is that you do this without information. Because there wasn't quantified and qualified information. A lot of it was, I think, from...
Was it hype?
Social media. It was hype. It was hype. And people have made their money, and it was another pyramid scheme. So for me, I think moving forward, we have to have credible ways. And one of the things that, Jeff, we are doing, and we are doing it silently, is the minister, the cabinet secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Felix Kosgei, is planning to do a census for Kenyan farmers. So we very soon, money or no money, we very soon will have a register of all the farmers in the country. Now, let me finish this. Because then what happens is that you can be able to send information through the mobile phone. You can also send information about prices through this. That is another game changer. So aspects such as the quail and whatever else, the rabbit and all that, you can be able to confirm through this kind of database.
Sure. Bankable is saying, is Daktari available offline? I have a ton of questions, having burnt myself in 2 seasons of agri-ventures. How can people get in touch with you, Daktari?
You have
your Twitter handle, yeah, but it's only 140 characters.
Yes,
How do they email you at the presidency?
My email is jnyoro@deputypresident.go.ke.
They can ask you all kinds of questions.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you got about a minute to go, Dr. You have the last word. Going forward, will the day come when we will not see starving people in our own country, in our own region, as we go East Africa? Will that day come, and will it be in our lifetime?
Well, that day is coming, Jeff. As I said, we have a president and his deputy who are passionate, who are engaging, who are listening to people like us and other advisors. We have a government that has decided to allocate resources. The 10% that you are talking about to put to agriculture to do that irrigation scheme will require a ton of money. So we have the goodwill. And we have capable people like Jeff and James Nyoro. And we have land. Yeah. So when we put all this combination, I think the sky is the limit.
Absolutely.
So I can assure Kenyans that going forward, the kind of things that we are saying today, God willing, in the next 1-2 years, will be a thing of the past.
You promise?
I promise.
That's why maybe someone tweeted here, James Nyoro, Kiambu governor in waiting.
Well, I'm currently senior advisor on food security, water, and climate change at the presidency.
All right, you're going to like this tweet. Robin Van Rooney says, Nyelea Jeff, Eco Food Secure.
Oh, Eco Food Secure. Okay. Mine is probably not.
Daktari.
Thank you, my brother.
Good to see you, man.
Thanks.
Keep doing what you do.
Great.
And please, we don't want to see those pictures again.
No, we will
Let
not.
them be history.
God forbid.
Ancient history.
Exactly.
It's up to you.
Thank you very much.
And it's up to you.
Exactly.
Keep talking. At Koinange Jeff, at Juliani Kenya, at Nyoro GV. You got Dr. Nyoro's email if you want to get in touch with him offline. He knows, or he has, and can provide most of the answers to your questions. If we don't talk about food security, who will? If we don't do it now, then when? It is time to turn that chapter if we want to be food secure in Vision 2030, if not before. Tomorrow night, it's gonna be a cracker. We've got Gulf Oil Chairman, Gulf Everything Chairman Suleiman Shakbal will be on the bench flying in from the coast, and he'll be joined by Mombasa Senator Hassan Omar Hassan. Oh my, wama. It's gonna be a cracker of a show. Be sure to join us tomorrow night, right here on Kenya's television network, KTN, beginning at 7:45. In the meantime, the news continues. Who's reading the news, Okedi? Well, Wilson Buru and Yvonne Aquara, thanks for reminding me. Thanks so much for joining us. Good night. Good luck.